Another issue, just to kind of lightly tap on from this season, was Mia and her health scare. But we talk about that in the episode with Robin or Wendy.
We talk about it in another episode.
Should we
just go listen to them all?
Just start at the beginning.
You tell us.
And even if it's not Potomac. And hey, go on our social media and
yeah.
tell us which episode it's
in. Review us while you're there.
And if you have to listen to lots of episodes over and over and over, that's fine. That's cool. Hi, this is Caitlin.
And this is Sharon.
And welcome to Real Housewives on Real Housewives, where we unravel housewives' story threads and keep the tea flowing.
So chic.
Hold on to your bubbly.
In today's episode, we're digging into Mia Thornton from Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 7.
So Mia is 38. She has a massage therapy degree and ownership in Massage Envy Spas, which we have in our area, and Joint Chiropractic, which is also a chain of chiropractic clinics, which I don't think they made super clear on the show.
No.
Yeah. I thought it kind of sounded like they invented it.
That's kind of, I thought that they developed it.
Exactly. But it turns out they're just, an owner of it, part of it, probably in the DC area. So she's married to Gordon and they have 3 kids. They've been together for 9 years. So it's a long time. Our 2 verses for Mia are going to be Mia versus Jacqueline and Mia versus business partners. We dealt with Mia and her health scare in the Wendy podcast because it related to their big fight. Yeah. So if you want to hear that, go back to the Wendy podcast. Let's start in with Mia versus Jacqueline, which I think is kind of a sad take.
I know. It is kind of depressing.
It is. Like, I'm kind of bummed out to do it. They've been friends since they were teenagers. Jacqueline's mom kind of took Mia in, and they've been best friends. They, early on in the season, say, like, they fight like sisters, but they always make up. But by the end of this season, that's not the case. And that's what's sad. It's one thing to see these sort of temporary friendships that you're kind of thrown together for the show, and their friendships break apart a little bit. It's really sad to see people come in with these, like, lifelong friendships, and then see the show kind of tear them apart. That is not a fun thing to watch, I think.
I agree.
There's this weird, unclear joking about Mia and whether she gets a financial benefit from Gordon, whether
Jacqueline, Jacqueline is like in a relationship with Mia and Gordon, whether she financially benefits,
right?
Is she like the sister wife? They keep alluding to all these weird things. And I don't know. Do you think it's because Jacqueline wants to be on the show or Mia wanted Jacqueline on the show?
I do think that's it. I do think they were trying to set themselves up to both end up on the show.
Yeah. So
from the very beginning, Jacqueline's title in the bottom third, it's in Mia's best friend in air quotes, like the whole season. So, like,
because they knew what was going to happen.
Something's going to go down.
I didn't even notice that.
First, I couldn't tell. It was just like Mia was just going to say it so much it got annoying, or whether there was going to be a problem. But it turns out a problem.
Well, okay, because remember at the reunion, they had Jacqueline had said something like, "Oh, she wanted me to say this for a storyline about the car." Like, that is so weird. I feel like that wasn't touched on enough. I feel like Andy Cohen should have been like, wait,
what does that mean?
What?
Yeah.
You wanted to do this for, like, you had this whole set up?
Right. It's like everybody bounced past that. Like, they didn't want to admit that there was anything that could possibly be, like, lightly scripted or forced or made up. But, like, we know, obviously, that, honestly, until recently, I didn't think about that much either. Because I think I wanted the illusion to stay of, like, thinking everything was just everyone's legitimate lives.
Yeah.
But I think there is something weird going on here with Jacqueline and Mia. And I do feel like somebody told somebody to push some storylines.
I think Mia and Jacqueline probably came up with it themselves.
Because the weird thing is that I don't understand what is going on with them when they're talking at, I think it's at the podcast, at Giselle and Robin's podcast. And Mia, like, had said a bunch of things, and the girls are going to talk to Jacqueline about that. Jacqueline acts like she can't respond without Mia's permission. It's like she's sort of like, I mean, it was something they asked Jacqueline directly, like, have you ever slept with Gordon? Like, it's a yes or a no, Jacqueline. Like, it's not that hard. And she's like, well, you'll have to ask Mia. it's not about Mia.
Yeah, almost like because Mia's controlling the narrative. Yeah. So,
and otherwise, you just, even if it was a lie, you might just say no. Like, if you don't want Mia to find out, the answer's no.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, maybe Mia's already said that I have, and I'd better go check with her. It was really weird.
Yeah. They just played, so if they played coy about whether Mia and Jacqueline were themselves in a relationship, whether the three of them were in a relationship.
Because they showered together in Miami in that big house with all the glass windows, and the other women could see them doing that. And they were like, well, we just always showered. We like the same temperature of water.
Yeah, which was...
I think we both like hot water. I'm not jumping in the shower with you.
Well, the only thing I could think of... Okay, because we didn't see the shower. Maybe they had to shower at the same time, and it was one of those huge showers with multiple shower heads.
Exactly. Maybe it was like being at the gym.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the only thing I'm thinking. But why could you see the shower from the outside?
That's a little weird. Like, you couldn't put something else up against that.
That's a little concerning to me.
I think so too. I'm not renting that. They can put that film up that's like only seen one way. Like, I don't understand.
And then the whole financial thing.
Right.
Okay. So they
tried to explain it in terms of the car.
Yes. So the Porsche. Jacqueline has a Porsche.
And Mia says on the beach in Miami, what kind of friend would I be if Jacqueline wasn't rolling up in a Porsche? Which is an odd thing to say because that sounds like you had something to do with the Porsche.
Right.
But then they roll it back and say they had nothing to do with the Porsche. Jacqueline makes enough money that she didn't need to take money from them. And she keeps saying I qualified, right? Kind of like for the Porsche,
the loan or something.
Which makes sense. And then what I took from it was that then Gordon gave her money just so that her own finances stayed intact and were more liquid, like so that like she wasn't using up her savings.
Oh, okay. I took it as she just needed cash for the down payment, so she didn't end up with a huge loan.
Yeah,
so she could qualify for the loan.
Yeah,
I don't know. I guess kind of same thing.
But I think some part of that is true. Either they paid the down payment or they gave it to her just so that she'd have like more liquidity in her assets.
Yeah,
I don't think it's much more than that. But again, they spent forever going back and forth on the couch. And nobody gave a clear answer except that they're not sister wives. They haven't all slept together.
Yeah.
And allegedly their finances aren't intermixed, but maybe a little intermixed.
Yeah. And maybe they said all these things did happen just for attention on the show.
That's what I think. I think that that's the baseline. Yeah. What I don't understand, what's more serious, is kind of when everything comes to a head on the flight to Mexico. Mm-hmm. And that is about Mia saying that Jacqueline's childcare situation was iffy.
This was so weird. I feel like Mia should have explained it better. Because all Mia kept saying was that whenever Jacqueline's like nanny or someone is looking for Jacqueline's kids, she calls Mia, implying that Jacqueline's kids are always with Mia.
Yeah.
And Mia does say like, oh, I let her kids come along in this. And Mia's nanny is Jacqueline's sister.
And I think that's the issue. I think it's like whenever her nanny fails, she assumes her sister is her default. And I guess it's who has access to that person first. Is it your blood relative because you're like, hey, you're my sister and you have to help me out? Or is it Mia who's like, but I'm paying you and we have set work days?
I think it would have to be Mia because that's her job.
So too.
But then at the same time, I could see Jacqueline being like, if you're truly my best friend and I need this help, you're not going to let me drop my kids. I don't know. Like,
I just feel like they could have worked that out without it being an issue. Like, what's the game plan here?
Yeah, could they pay her? Well, pay her more because she's taking care of more children, or
or ask like, is it okay if my kids come over and be with your kids when my sister's there? She can watch them all.
Yeah,
and if Mia's like no, then that's the issue. So I feel like it's that they never talked about it, but it did create like super super bad blood between them. And then Jacqueline gets mad and says to Mia, like, you need some, I don't know how to say this word, she needs to get some, let's say. And I don't understand what that's alleging to because she's married to Gordon.
Yeah. So she says they're kind of in this fight and Jacqueline says, oh, Mia needs some. And then Mia says, well, why don't you close your legs to married men?
Yeah.
And then Jacqueline flips out. It's like, I was never with Gordon.
Yeah.
He and I were never together. Which,
do you think she meant Gordon? I think you made the point that you were saying, if it was your husband, wouldn't you say, close your legs to my husband?
Yeah.
Like, close your legs to Gordon?
Yeah.
I thought they meant like another married man.
I did too. When she said married men, I thought she was just saying like
who she's dating is maybe
or maybe you've dated several married men. Or
because in Potomac, it takes a year to get divorced. So that's it's highly likely that could be a problem.
But yeah, like I didn't take it. So I don't know why Jacqueline automatically thought that's what Mia was referring to.
Right.
And maybe it's because of that storyline they were kind of playing with.
That's the thing. It's like,
where she's like, I never actually did that.
Yeah. She
like,
remembered that was fake.
Yeah. I don't want this to be the story. Or,
yeah. I feel like they should.
Or don't we look like the bad guy?
Okay. So what I feel like is that they didn't do their homework very well. Because if you're going to create a lie and a lie scenario, for one thing, it was way too complicated. Two, base it in something true. And then, but then that worries me that did they? Like, are some of these things based on either issues they've had in the past, the money question?
Interesting.
And like maybe then they became a real thing. Like, I almost wonder if it's like, oh, we'll just pretend to talk about infidelity and we'll pretend to talk about money.
When really like, that was a simmering issue underneath?
When it's like, well, actually, I'm worried that you have slept with Gordon and I don't know whether that's true or not.
Oh, so it's kind of like a veil. Like, oh, we're being coy, but really
I kind of wonder, like, because they get so upset about it. And if it was fake, you think you'd be, like, then they should have worked it out by the reunion or not still be fighting.
And also, you would think you would come up with, like, in your head, you would be like, okay, here's our final answer. We'll play coy, but here's our ultimate answer. Right. It seems like on the season, they didn't have an ultimate answer. No, they were just playing coy.
They had a start, and that's it.
Yeah. They never really give us like the
yes. No. Because they started out with, the question. But then when they went straight up and asked Jacqueline, like, no one was prepared. Not Mia, not Jacqueline.
Yeah.
Because then remember, Mia was like, oh, Jacqueline can answer that. And then everyone kind of like looks at Jacqueline, who's like, I didn't know if I was allowed to answer. Okay. Yeah. They get really mean about the money stuff, too.
Yeah, so
Jacqueline says Mia wasn't really a CEO.
At the reunion, that got so mean. Yeah, she said she wasn't a CEO, which was really attacking Mia's whole persona.
That's what she set herself up as. Like, girl boss.
Girl boss. # girl boss. Yeah, so that's really saying, like, you're a fake.
Yeah. I feel like she was, like, by saying that, like you said, I think she was calling everything that Mia was into question.
Yeah.
That's a bit much.
It is. And she said, like, her ego had gotten so big. And
yeah.
I don't know. I would have imagined she was always that way.
I thought so, too. I didn't feel like there was a big change in growth from, like, it's not like Mia grew a lot during the season. Mm-hmm. Like, who Mia started out was is kind of who Mia ended as.
Yeah.
And not that she's necessarily one note, but she just kind of was. Mm-hmm. She was just bossy and in charge, and I don't know.
This is also what I don't get. For them to get so mad about the line when they were fighting about close your legs to married men.
Right.
Well, Mia talks about how when they were teenagers, Jacqueline threw a brick at her head.
Oh, that's right.
Like, okay, granted, I guess that was years and years ago when you were teenagers. But still, I feel like in light of someone throwing a brick at your head, which might be considered like attempted murder.
I think it's just like nothing.
I feel like this is nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that also highlights the fact that they have fought pretty terribly their whole lives. Mm-hmm. So maybe this is just on TV and that made it worse, or on social media and that made it worse.
But it felt real.
When
Jacqueline responded to her, and it felt real. Yeah. And at the reunion, it felt real to me.
And they were also, it's like their lines of ownership, I think, are very blurred. Because it seems like, oh, we're going to call Jacqueline a sister wife, but if she asks for anything, then she's greedy.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, Mia calls Jacqueline's mom her mom. Mm-hmm. And then there was that huge fight about who was with the mom on Mother's Day.
And that was a little shady, because then it turns out
she was like on Google.
Mia said she was there, but she was on like FaceTime or something. I'm like, whoa.
That's not there.
If you told me you were there,
I
expect you like be there serving her breakfast or something.
By there, I mean I logged on at the same time as her. Yeah, that's too modern for me. It doesn't count. Who do you think wins in Mia versus Jacqueline?
I thought Jacqueline, because I thought Mia came off as coming really speaking just so mean about her. She seemed like a mean girl, because there were several times where she made it seem like Jacqueline was just annoying her and the cool girls.
Right. I agree.
And I like Jacqueline. I thought she seemed like a normal person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and in Mexico, when they kind of first, everything broke after being on the plane together, you could see at that dinner that she was really hurt. Mm-hmm. And I think it felt to her like, oh, we're not playing a game anymore. Now this is real. And I think that's when the tide turned with them.
Yeah.
So I would agree. I think Jacqueline won, because I'm not sure Mia should have been faking all these storylines.
Yeah.
If that's what was happening. And I want to give her the benefit of the doubt, because I kind of believe her about the health scare storyline that we talk about.
Yeah, I do too.
But at the same time, it's like, well, do you just sort of fabricate everything? Like, do you make everything into a bigger deal than it is? Mm-hmm. At which point, it's kind of hard to know where to believe her and where to not.
Yeah.
It becomes an issue. And so I could see that Jacqueline might be confused too. Like, well, we agreed on this.
Yeah.
And now it's taken on a life of its own. And now what do we do? Do you think there's any hope for them coming up in the next season?
I was going to say no. But then I was like, you know what? Maybe if they truly are sisters, they fight like sisters. Maybe
if
sisters can go like a year. Sisters could potentially go like a year hating each other, then come back together.
Beverly Hills.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. So maybe there is hope if they truly are like sisters.
Call Kyle and get some advice.
Exactly.
Or Kyle's sister.
I don't know. Do you think they have any hope?
I don't know. I think so. They were all together at the wedding for...
No, on this show.
Sorry. Oh, jeez. I thought we were talking about the other show.
This is a Potomac.
I wanted to answer that one because I don't know the answer to this one. I mean, where they left it right now, I feel like no. Mm-hmm. But I think you're right. Sometimes a lot changes the way a season is set up. And if Mia also discovers, I don't know who else you would say she was closest to this season. Her storylines were with Jacqueline. Or confusing people about what she said. So she completely refuses to get back together with Jacqueline and make it work. I don't know that she has a storyline. And I almost feel like she only has a storyline if they invite Jacqueline on as a housewife.
However, this segues into our next verses. Mm-hmm. She might have a storyline if she's broke.
That's true.
But I don't think that's how she would want to portray herself.
No.
Although she does say they had to move out of their house.
And I get the feeling that she kind of can get a victim mentality sometimes a little bit. Mm-hmm. And maybe she could sort of use that as her storyline.
That's true, because it wasn't like we're broke. Because it was more
somebody else.
We were wronged.
Yeah. So let's do Mia versus her business partners versus business partners. So they own a, what's it called? Like not a stake, but when you're
is that a
franchise? Yeah, that's the word. They're franchise owners in Joint Chiropractic. They have a bunch of them across kind of the Northeast. And it looks like the business is together with Gordon's brothers. Mm-hmm. So it sounded like in the thing that I was originally reading, like it was sort of a family thing. They wanted it as a legacy to their kids, to Mia, to the brothers' kids, and everyone was going to work together. What Mia says happens, because at the reunion, they're like, well, you're broke, you lost your house. They had to move out of the rental. They're in like an apartment, but they were kind of making it sound like it was the penthouse of the apartment to make it sound better.
It's like a 2-story apartment.
Yes,
it's the penthouse.
But she says they come back from a trip, and the brothers, I think it was one of the brothers, had closed their access to all bank accounts.
Yeah, they'd revoked Gordon's access to the bank accounts, the business bank accounts, while they were out of the country.
Right.
Which, first of all,
do that?
I have so many questions. Why does it matter if they're out of the country? Is the bank like, well, are they in New York? Then I cannot revoke his access.
Yeah. That's
he's
weird.
In France. I can revoke his access.
Yeah.
Like, it just seems to me either you can or you can't. I don't think your physical location would
matter.
Affect it. Or is that,
I guess they just thought maybe they could move on it while they were unable to do anything quickly to fix it.
Or they would notice maybe.
Because shared branching overseas is harder.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it was more like it was a distraction.
Probably.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know how that works. It just seems to me that you wouldn't be able to so easily kick someone off of the account when they're part of the business owner. And it seems like if they did, you would have lawyers who are in there trying to get you back on. Like,
I agree.
I don't know. So Mia says also something like they manipulated the organizational structure, something like that, which to me means, the way I think of it, when you say that, you're like, oh, they did it in a way that's legal, but not ethically right.
That might be true.
That kind of the way I see it. And maybe that's why they don't have lawyers come in.
Like they were on the account, so they had access to close the account. But if she was the CEO, they should have gone through the CEO first, and instead it was kind of like a coup. like a franchise coup.
Business coup.
A business coup.
I think this thing here, I just don't get a truth feeling. I don't get an honest vibe about this because it just sounds so wacky.
It does sound wacky.
Like
on the website for the Joint Chiropractic, they had a little article, and like I guess Marvin had been in the military. That's Gordon's brother, and Gordon was like at home being an entrepreneur, and like this was their chance to like jump into business together. Like that was their plan. I don't understand where each of them stood in the thing, like in the layout.
Yeah.
But it sounds to me like Mia and Gordon were higher up. I mean, that's kind of the vibe that I get.
Oh, than the brother.
They have 8 clinics together.
Uh-huh.
They plan to develop up to 30, according to this article.
Well, yeah, you always say that. Aren't you always like, we're going to take over the East Coast by next year?
Exactly. So I don't understand. I mean, the article makes it sound like they're in it together as franchise owners.
But Mia on the show makes it sound even the CEO.
So maybe she wasn't ever the CEO.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of wonder if Mia ran the day-to-day of some of them. Mm-hmm. I don't know, or she was the face of it.
Yeah.
Either way, she thought she was more in charge of it than Gordon, and maybe more in charge of it than Marvin. I'm like totally extrapolating on that.
And maybe she was using CEO not so much as, okay, that's not my actual title, but that is the role I play.
Yes.
Because I get it. Sometimes your job title is like weird.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't it just sounds weird or complicated.
Exactly. But as I look at the article, like, I think my thought that maybe they were at, like, higher up in the hierarchy than the brother is not true. It sounds like they're all franchise owners. Now, I wonder do you think they're 50-50, being like married partner and the other side? Or do you think that, like, Gordon and Mia have a higher percentage of it? Well, I don't think so.
How would you get kicked off if you...
Exactly. That's why I think it's 50-50.
It's got to be something like that.
Yeah.
And then she says she's not going to be getting a paycheck anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It sounds like they've kicked them out of the franchise.
So what is she going to do now? Is she going to go open her own? Because she could still open it.
And do they still have the massage envy or no?
I don't know.
She had said on the reunion they were renting several properties, like in Charlotte. But I think Andy had asked, are you still doing that? Mm-hmm. And she was like, no, we're not making any money for that. We let it go. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so I think a storyline could... But see, she wouldn't want that to be her storyline.
No,
I was going to say her storyline could be like a change in lifestyle.
Right.
But that is like...
Yeah.
The antithesis of
the
Mia.
show.
And the show.
Yeah.
So I doubt it. Unless she wants to, like, play the victim and come back.
Yes.
Somehow.
Mm-hmm. That could be.
Or a fake comeback. I don't know.
What was interesting is, didn't Giselle say at the reunion that it looks like embezzlement?
Yes, Giselle threw that out there without any kind of explanation.
Yeah. So I couldn't decide if what she meant was that is how Mia and Gordon funded their lifestyle. Like, was she saying... You couldn't have afforded all the things that you have without embezzling from the company, and now the brother's kicking you out because he found out you're embezzling?
I think that's the implication of what she said, because I don't know what else.
I agree. Unless she thought the brother was embezzling to take it over, but it didn't sound like she had Mia's back. Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like that's what Giselle was saying. Yeah. So that's an interesting thing, too. I don't know. I mean, they sound like they've been business owners. They were like a McDonald's franchisee owners before that, too. Yeah.
Oh my God.
You know, if we love their Diet Coke.
Okay, Diet Coke and French fries
on the
is
world.
my heaven.
Yeah, exactly.
McDonald's fries, not your fries.
So see, if we started a business, we'd probably start out there too. So I guess who wins in that? Again, I hate this family because that just bums me up.
Not Mia, because she's broke.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
And I'm not sure that she has even the ethical leg up, do you?
No, something sounds fishy to me.
I think so too.
I'm having a hard time buying that
I am too.
She was just kicked out and there's no recourse. There's nothing she could do.
Yeah. And also I feel like if the brother was maybe in the wrong, then maybe he would have put out some more information on social media and stuff. It feels like whatever they're trying to do, they're just trying to quietly do and keep the businesses going.
Yeah.
And that feels like a more responsible way to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Mia's going all over saying, they stole our money and they kicked us out. And then you're right. Like, that feels fishier as a way to handle it. So I guess I give a little more credit to the person who's quietly still running the company.
I do too.
It'll be interesting to see whether they still have anything to do with the company or if their family can work it out. So I kind of feel bad for the Thornton family because it's like Mia's in this drag-out, knockout fight with Jacqueline, her supposed sister, which is probably the access to the mother she feels the closest with. So that may no longer be a relationship if she's fighting with Jacqueline. And then she had wanted her real biological mother to be her nanny. She'd said no and nannied for Mia's brother. So then Mia gets Jacqueline's sister to nanny. So now it's like if Jacqueline's sister is on Jacqueline's side, then she loses her nanny, her mother, and her sister. And then on Gordon's side, they're
brother.
Fighting about the whole business with his brother. So, like, that is massive family feud on both sides of the family. Like, that's a mess.
That is. But at the same time, I kind of wonder if Jacqueline's sister, I could totally see her being like, no, this is my job.
Yeah.
And especially because she's probably grown to love the kids.
Yeah.
That I could see that being
her still working.
out of it,
maybe Mia won't have to worry about Jacqueline dropping off the kids anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So
her life will be easier.
There you go. So simple. All right, well, that's our wrap up on Mia from Potomac. Yep. Do you have any last thoughts on Mia?
I really liked her shirt in the Talking Heads.
Oh, but what didn't you like?
Oh, thank you for reading
this. This is very important. Okay. I can't believe we almost forgot the most important part.
Why on the show does Mia and everyone else wear their coat on their shoulders, but not with their arms? Like their arms aren't in it. It's just like on their shoulders.
It's a cape. But
but it has
cape
sleeves.
With arms.
Like picture like a woman is out in the cold and the man is like, here, take my coat. And he just puts it over her shoulders.
It's like, okay, here's my thought. They're either rented or they don't really fit. I'm going to start wearing all my old fancy coats that don't fit because I paid I'll be like, oh, everyone, remember this coat I used to have? Put it on. No, it doesn't fit. No. I will get stuck. No, but Mia does it and Jacqueline does it. And a few of the other ladies, but it seems to be a Mia thing.
Really annoys me because, okay, anytime I've ever done that, because like I don't know, it feels like it's about to fall off. You feel uncomfortable. Yeah.
I feel like they paid money for their shirts and they paid money for the coats.
And they're like, I want both.
And they want both in the scene. Yeah. Or maybe it's like really awkward to try to get out of your coat. You know, when you're trying to get out of your coat at a restaurant and you get stuck.
Yeah, but then they wear all these short dresses and heels. Like, if there's anything awkward, it would be like getting off a chair out of a car.
Or you could like Ashley, who wears practically like a swimsuit dress to that cold, rainy thing, and then doesn't bring a coat at all. That's the other option. All right, well, we're going to leave you with that thought. So go on our social media and tell us whether coats on your shoulders is legit and okay, or if it's a huge faux pas.
Yes.
All right. Remember, Housewives bring the drama.
We bring the receipts.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to help support us, please share it with others and leave a rating and review. Also, visit us on Instagram and Twitter, both at RH_on_RH for fun pictures and polls, or email us at rhonrhpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again, and remember to stay out of the shade.